So, Tom, I had a bit of a weekend last weekend, actually. I have to say, it was a bit of a perfect day because what I did was I went and won the monthly medal at my local golf club by stonking 4 strokes off of the next person. And I came back to the Spike Bar and had a lovely bowl of pasta whilst I watched the Grand Prix on the telly in the clubhouse. Now, if that's not a perfect day, eh?
Yeah, huge congratulations, Damon. That's amazing. My favourite hole is always the 19th. I've got to say that. But it was one of your good days at the office, by the sounds of it.
Well, it was quite funny because I was sitting there watching it with a bunch of other golfers, obviously, and I'm sitting there commentating on the commentary and on some of the things that say, and people are turning to me and going, well, what about that? And then I say something, and then I hear my commentary team repeat it on the TV screen. So I did feel quite good about myself. But I was astonished at how much the guys I was watching with knew about strategy and when somebody should have come in. So the whole controversy about whether Lewis should have been brought in and all this, they knew it all. I mean, I was really impressed by that. So that's good news, isn't it?
Damon, regular listeners will know that you weren't with us last week. What would you have done if you were Lewis Hamilton in the Turkish Grand Prix?
Yeah, I would have gone to the end.
You would have gone to the end, not pitted.
It was a gamble, right? And he might have made it. He's been known to make it in the past. Obviously, there was the famous one in China where he didn't quite make it, but he was inexperienced then. And I think once you come so far, the worst thing you can do, basically you've admitted defeat if you then have to change your plan. So, yeah, he kind of got in deep. There wasn't a kind of harmony between the team in the communication, was there? So that he overrode the strategist's vows in the team, I think, in the middle of the race, and then was annoyed when he also came in and put a new set of tyres on. It didn't work. But no, it was damage limitation because of the engine as well, the ice. So the starting from 10 places back. But it was a good race. So anyway, that's behind everyone, isn't it, Tom? And we're now looking forward to the big one. This is it.
The US Grand Prix. It feels like the big one. I've got this sense of excitement about going on a long-haul flight for the first time in about 18 months. Damon, let's get the show on the road.
Welcome to this week's edition of F1 Nation with me, Damon Hill, and you, over there, Tom Clarkson. Yeehaw!
Welcome back. We missed you last week.
Well, I enjoy doing this. It's good. It's but as I explained, I was having other things on my plate and having a bit of a break because we're into a bit of a spate now of races, aren't we?
Yeah, we got 6 races in 8 weeks.
We've got a bit of a flurry.
Before we know it, this championship is going to be over.
And I'm in Mexico. Well, I'm not in Brazil, but then I'm in Qatar, and then I'm in Saudi.
Hey, Damon, where do you think this is going to be won, this title fight?
Somewhere between now and the end of the season. I hope it's not one before. I mean, I'm not doing Abu Dhabi, but I've got a feeling it could go all the way to the wire.
Damon, one of the questions we were mulling over last week is which car would you want to be driving for the rest of the season, the Red Bull or the Mercedes?
I think Mercedes. I honestly think after Turkey, I was a bit shocked. I think Red Bull were a bit shocked as well by the form. I mean, Valtteri drove a fantastic race, and he deserves full credit for that race because he did his job. But clearly, the car was, Lewis was able to put 4 tenths or something on the competition, despite his grid penalty. So the car looked good, didn't it, on a track like that? And that's a pretty good test, that track, of your car's performance. And I can't think of circuits between now and the end that are going to be that much in favour of the Red Bull. In fact, some of the circuits I thought were Red Bull dominant tracks turned out to be not this season. So like Hungary.
Well, I think they're banking on the high altitude tracks of particularly Mexico, but also Brazil, where the Honda power unit seems to perform better at higher altitude than the Mercedes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, don't forget there's aerodynamic effect as well at altitude. So they've made these noises, haven't they, about Mercedes, particularly the Mercedes works team, the AMG Mercedes, that Red Bull are basically sort of suggesting they're up to something with their plenum chamber. That's what Christian has been suggesting, is that there's some sort of inexplicable performance advantage that Mercedes have now, particularly the Works Mercedes team. And then you've got all the other Mercedes teams coming to back up the Works team, saying we all get the same equipment and we're happy with our car and there's nothing, we're not up to anything that's untoward. But they're all starting to the tension is rising. And if you get beaten, you like to find a reason why. And I think that Red Bull are sort of trying to find out how they can explain the fact, because they've obviously improved the Honda power unit, but they're still getting beaten really on power by Mercedes.
Interesting to see your old mucker, Adrian Newey, back at the racetrack in Turkey. He's missed a few races. He had a bicycle accident, but he's now back on the front line. I think he had to have a few operations, didn't he? But he's now back on the front line, which is great for the team, isn't it? I think that's going to be if nothing else, a hugely motivating factor just to have him there on the pit wall, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's. I think he really wants to be useful and also put whatever he can put into the performance. I mean, there's very little you can do between now and the end of the season with the development of this car. I don't know how. I wouldn't be surprised if they got any more developments to put on the car at this late stage. But you can do a lot with talking to the engineers, backing up engineers on setup and strategy and stuff, with all his experience. Of course, he is also experienced on ovals as well. We have somebody coming later who can talk about ovals.
Oh, we have a very special guest later. Before we preview the US Grand Prix, bit of news. The World Motorsport Council met last week. They approved the 2022 calendar. So 23 races, 20th of March to the 20th of November. That's the season.
It's not starting in Australia.
Not starting in Australia, starting in Bahrain. 2 races in the United States.
Yeah, Florida, of course, coming up. In May. Is it May or March?
May, Miami.
May, yeah.
May the 8th. And then Austin at similar time of year. So 23 races.
And also, was it 7 sprint races?
Yeah. Damon, I've got a question for you. And now everyone's talking about the longevity of the calendar. Who does more seat time? A driver now with 23 races and no in-season testing, or you in the mid-90s, 16 races and then testing every other week? Who actually does more laps in a Formula One car, do you think?
I think you need to ask someone who kept all the records. I didn't keep any records, but you're absolutely right. We would, for whatever racing we did, let's say it's a 3-day weekend, we did 16 of those. We also did equally that number of days testing, probably double that. We'd go through the winter as well. So we had something once, which we called the 10-day war, which was 10 days at Estoril. And people were being drafted in and out, and you got a medal at the end if you'd been there for a week. So it was like the First World War, so going into the trenches. And I tested to the point where I had no idea anymore whether we tried this thing or we hadn't tried that thing. We just went round. We just literally were drones. We just got in the car and drove and wore ourselves out and the car and all the tyres and probably the track.
So anyone in the teams talking about the longevity of the calendar, and they've got short memories, because go back to your day, they were doing every bit as much travelling and track days as now.
Yeah. No limit on engine testing, no limit on number of engines, no limit on aerodynamic testing. So you basically, if you had the money, you spent it all and you did as much as you possibly could. And Frank used to basically phone up, and the testing guy, a guy called Brian Lambert, who ran the test team, his job was to get the car on the track at 9 o'clock and keep going round till 5. So basically, if the car wasn't out of the garage at 9 o'clock, Frank would hear about it and he'd get a rocket. So it was really tough.
Was there any proper downtime for you as a driver?
Yes, I think so. I make it sound tough, but we loved it. It was great there was a limit to the amount of testing you can do before you get test blindness. You start to wonder what the point of this is. I remember going after Monaco, which was an extremely long weekend when you're fighting for a championship, and it's 4 days and there's no respite from autographs, requests and questions and journalists and everything. And getting about Monaco is tough. So a tough weekend. And then Tuesday, you're back in a car at Silverstone. And I wanted a bit of a break. And I actually, to be honest, I threw a bit of a wobbly, because Frank came down to see us testing, and I'm going around and I think, I'm no good to man nor beast because I'm exhausted. Why are we here? Why are we doing this? And Frank said, Michael Schumacher will be going around Fiorano. And I was going, well, get Michael Schumacher then. And I had a little bit of a tantrum. But I was exhausted. So you do need to preserve your energy reserves in a season. I think this is where I've said before, I think Lewis is quite good at managing his energy, but then he can negotiate that in the contract. If you're another driver for another team, you don't quite have that kind of pull, then you can find yourself doing all the promotional work, all the testing, all the sim time, and you can be exhausted.
Well, Damon, let's take a little breather and hear from one of our sponsors now. Are you ready for an out-of-world experience, fellas? Because look no further than the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped that has just taken off not only in the USA, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Worldwide, I think, sums up that list. The leaders in male grooming are here to help you take your grooming game to the next level and make sure you've got the right tools for the job with the Performance Package 4.0. Now, regular listeners will know about this. Inside the package, you're going to get their new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. It features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. And it's waterproof. It's the perfect tool to use in a shower. The Manscaped Weed Whacker comes with it as well. It's a powerful little tool armed with a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system to help you chop up that ear and nose hair. And my favourite bit, listen to this. You'll also get Manscaped's signature Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner, which is a soothing aloe vera and witch hazel blend to keep you cool after a shave. They even throw in 2 free gifts, a pair of performance boxer briefs and a travel bag to keep all your kit safe. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code F1Nation at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code F1Nation at manscaped.com. Well, look, let's throw it forward to this weekend's US Grand Prix. Round 17 of the World Championship. Weird to think that it was just 16 races in your championship year. You were done and dusted at this point.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I just went past October, which was 25 years ago. I won the championship, and to me, it felt like we were racing in November, but we weren't. We were racing in October, which was the last race. I do remember Adelaide was in November, so I think they did go all the way. But this year, are we going to December?
Yeah. December the 12th, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Time to get all your duty-free shopping for Christmas.
And it's also weird to think that you never raced a US Grand Prix, Damon.
I didn't. No, we didn't. They wasn't on the menu. We got the closest we got was Montreal. So we got a lot of people from New York and the States. The fans from the States came up to that one. That's the furthest. We never did. Long Beach was before me, as was Las Vegas and Detroit and all those ones.
So what do you think of COTA, the Circuit of the Americas?
I'd love to have a go. I mean, I haven't been around it. It looks fun. It looks really good fun. There's Turkey and COTA, which is 2 of the better circuits by
Herman
Tilke, yes. So yeah, great track. Good to spectate as well, and you got that fantastic first corner. And that amazing hill that you can. I went up there to watch the cars arriving a few years back, and it's really strange. They come flying up that hill and then just slither around that apex, and then shoot off through those sweeping, the S's bit, which is very similar to Suzuka.
Very, very quick.
Yeah, massive performance in the cars.
Wow, and turn 6, they talk about it being 4.5 Gs for 3 seconds in one corner.
Youch.
Yeah. Ouch. proper quick. But Damon, I believe we have a man in the waiting room who can tell us a lot more about this and other things. Go on, introduce the great man.
Well, we have for you listeners, we have one of the greatest names in our sport of all time. And here he is, the living, breathing manifestation of a legend, which is Mario Andretti. Welcome to the F1 Nation podcast with me and Tom. Are you there?
How are you?
Hi, Mario. What time have you got over there? It's just early morning?
Here it's midday. Well, it's 12 o'clock. We just got up. Just got up and brushed my teeth. So we're good.
Oh, Mario, it's lovely to see you.
Thank you. Likewise. Likewise.
Damon and I are getting very excited about this coming weekend in Austin. And just before you joined us, we were saying what a great racetrack it is.
It is indeed, actually. I had, the opportunity to be to ride it with a two-seater when the IndyCar race was there. So at least I have a much better feel for it, because before then, I was on it with the my Lotus 79, but the ones that are available nowadays leave a bit to be desired as far as the setup. So anyway, with the two-seater, it's a little more representative, and you get the flair of what the track is about, and it's fun in so many ways. Actually, it's better than I thought. Even having driven, say, with a McLaren sports car and so forth, which is really fun. But with a proper single-seater is a different feeling. And I liked it better than I thought I would, quite honestly.
What did you feel like? Modern tracks, Mario, got lots of runoff and, flat curbs and stuff. Did you feel like you could just let it go and not take any risks or whatever on that kind of track? Or
Damon, I don't think it makes a damn bit of difference. It really, in our way of thinking, that's something that never even crossed my mind, to be honest with you, because, okay, you said there's a bridge abutment there and you're going to slow down. Damn well, you know that you're not going to do that. So, and that's still with me, quite honestly. I think it's a good margin to have, especially when I have another soul with me, behind me with the two-seater. But I usually, I'm not unreasonable, but I usually don't leave much on the table, quite honestly. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. If I'm going to go out there and just ride 98%, I'm not going to do it. I still challenge myself to some degree. And again, it's to go back, it's nice to have some margin, but I don't think about it. Quite honestly, I don't think in those terms.
Now, Mario, how much are you keeping abreast of Formula One this season? We're having a hell of a season.
Hell of a season indeed. And I can assure you that I'm keeping abreast. Yes, there's so much to look forward to, quite honestly. It's finally very unpredictable, even though, up front, it's pretty much, we know who's going to be the protagonist, but there's more than one, and so you can see that even Valtteri is ready to pick up the slack, when something is awry with Lewis. And then again, let's face it, Verstappen is always there. He will be there to the end. So good stuff, and it's great to see McLaren, even come on strong, and you can tell that they're becoming a force to be reckoned with. And then you always hope for Ferrari to have their nose in there. Obviously, that's important. So a lot of good things are happening. I mean, look at Gasly is always there, with the AlphaTauri. That's really interesting. A lot of good talent. Represents solid future, obviously. It's IndyCar the same way. There's a lot of good talent, a lot of young lads that are coming on really, really strong. And, even, some of the older guys are still young enough, that real quickly. It was fun to see Roman really enjoy himself, but, knowing that, with the Spec Series, he's pretty much in the Mercedes there. Like everybody else, and doing this thing. So
it's quite a lot going on across the Atlantic now. There's kind of seems to be a little bit more traffic both ways. Are we going to see potentially an IndyCar driver currently of the crop there is out there? Can you see someone coming over? I mean, like Jacques won the championship and then came over and won the F1 championship. You've done the same, so that kind of getting into the consciousness, F1 into the consciousness of the United States has been a bit of a tough one, but it seems to be they're catching on in America, aren't they? To a bit more to the story.
Yeah, I think for sure there's definitely a movement and there's a desire. I think from a couple of lads, to especially one American, I know that Colton Herta, I think would fit there quite nicely, And it's, it's a matter of when this could happen. But the fact that you're going to have 2 Grand Prix here in the beginning next year, that's a good thing. And I think it would be awesome. It would be great to see an American driver somewhere in there with a representative team, of course.
What do you see in Colton? Why do you say he would suit coming over?
For many reasons. Number one, he's basically trained there. If you speak to Lando Norris, they raced together in Formula 3. He pretty much did his early racing in Europe and then came to the States and immediately he was forced to be reckoned with in the supporting series, to IndyCar and won championships there. And then when he moved on to the IndyCar, immediately he was a winner, And I mean, in a good way, not lucky. I mean, speed and good calculation. And the last race that he won, he started 14th at Long Beach. And I would not have given him 30% chance of winning, and there again, he came right through the best of them. So he has quality that Damon, in my opinion, comes along, every couple of decades. I would love to see someone like that get a crack at Formula One.
Do you see a little bit of Mario in Colton?
I see a lot of desire there, honest desire to do that because, in America, you could be quite satisfied actually to have a good career right here, with the IndyCar or whatever, or NASCAR, which is what America has to offer. But I see clearly with Colton, Formula One is in his mind very strongly. And I think timing is good for him. Again, we'll see what happens, but there's some action going on on that front, and we'll see what happens.
Mario, can you tell us anything about that action? Because there's so much speculation now about Michael making a move with Sauber. Is there anything you can tell us?
Well, I wish I could, quite honestly, but there's some loose ends yet that the way I understand it, and I'm definitely not a spokesperson for the team. I wish I could, quite honestly, but probably don't know enough to really be useful.
Mario, I'm just imagining Andretti above the door at Hinwil in Switzerland. What an amazing name that would be to have in Formula One, wouldn't it?
Well, we'll wait and see.
and Mario, you not yourself, as far as I know, you can correct me if I'm completely wrong here, but in your career, you've never you wanted to run your own team as such. I know Michael does, but you yourself have steered away from it?
It's very true, actually. Well, yeah, indeed. Actually, Damon, I owned a team in 1968, an IndyCar, because the principal, Al Dean of Dean Van Lines, passed away at the end of the season. And I wanted to continue with the same, obviously the same support with everyone. And I'm the only one that could have taken over. And I did. I owned the team in 1968. I didn't like that role, quite honestly, at all, because number one, as a driver, all I wanted to do is move around whenever I wanted to. I didn't want to have the responsibility, sponsors and so on and so forth, which was coming on at the time as well. All along throughout my career, I wanted to just drive as long as I possibly could. And as you know, I think I pushed the envelope as much as anyone in that respect. And where on the other side, I feel that Michael, for instance, he came out of the cockpit at the very top of his game, as a driver, but he had this thing about the business side that I think fascinated him to some degree. He had to, because he delved right into that, by buying the Team Green at the time and having some partners along the way. And then before too long, he just obviously bought everybody out and stayed on himself. But then also the way he, as you could see even now, the teams that he's fielding, like in Formula E, he's got in supercars in Australia. He's pretty much involved in 6 or 7 7 different disciplines, including, rallying, and so on and so forth. So
he's a busy man.
It's a true business. Yeah. He's very ambitious, and motor racing is life and in every way. So there are no boundaries, quite honestly, for him as he sees it. I love to see that because it gives me also much more reason to stay connected, and I love that because that's it. That's all we know. That's all we like, actually.
I think the thing is, I like the fact that you're a driver, a pure driver, Mario. So you're kind of like an ambassador for all racing drivers. We can all relate to you, and it's once you cross over that line, you become a team owner. You're kind of gone over to the other side. You're kind of like, it's like
I'll never be that. I'll never be that. That's not a role that really fits me, quite honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever Michael does, still, I'm just interested in the driver's side, of it all. I don't care about any of the logistics, about running a team or anything else. I don't want to be involved in that. And I don't want a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want and I don't need a job. So
typical race driver. That's that. We used to call that a 3-letter word, JOB. You never mentioned that.
Mario, it's really fun for me to see you and Damon chatting because, of course, you raced Graham, didn't you?
Yes, I did, actually.
How good was Graham Hill? Tell us now.
Graham Hill was very good, indeed. I mean, you look at his record. I mean, the sports cars. I mean, win Le Mans, and he drove Can-Am. Drove Indy cars, won Indy, look how many times he won Monaco. And so again, Graham, and what a hell of a guy. It was so fun to be around him. Quite honestly, I remember just times, even in South Africa, we used to spend quite a bit of time because we'd always go there at least a week before we do testing and so forth. Then we would have some time to ourselves. But I have photos of Graham and myself and actually Roger Penske up there. Kibitzing around and fun memories of your dad for sure.
Can you tidy something up for me? You were on pole at Indy in 1966.
Here he goes. Tom's going to throw you the question. You haven't got a lap chart with you, have you, Mario?
Graham said he won the Indy 500 because he drunk the milk. What? There was a lot of confusion in that race with all the crashes. Just give us your verdict.
In 66, I blew I think it was an engine that went for me. So I didn't finish that race. Quite honestly, I felt that I had the competitive car, that it could have been a good race for me. And the qualifying showed it, quite honestly, and during practice. But again, it was a lot of confusion in that race because there was, I think, some scoring potential issue there that was debated. But I think it ultimately worked out. But I think some people thought that James won. That Jimmy won.
Not Damon, Mario. Damon didn't think that.
No. I'm on my dad's side. Obviously, he drank the milk. Yeah.
Mario, please don't go anywhere. We're just going to hear from another of our sponsors now. We all know how important it is to keep our immune systems as strong as possible as we head into the colder winter months. But we often forget to do the prep before it's too late and we're struck down with a cold or with flu. I always start to feel a little bit run down at this time of year. The long haul flights come in, the time zone differences, and with the changes in the weather, it all starts to stack up. But not this year, because I've been taking Sun's Ultimate Immune Health Supplement. It's the perfect supplement for fighting viruses, maintaining energy and hydration, as well as recovery from sport, and even weekend overindulgences if you've got a hangover. It's formulated from 11 powerful ingredients and includes all of the key vitamins, minerals, and amino acids you need, like D, C, B, zinc, l'arginine, and the plant maca. Its special ingredient, however, is the beta-glucan Wellmune. clinically proven in 12 scientific trials. One study showed a 71% reduction in the number of individuals reporting cold and flu symptoms. So if you're looking for something to strengthen your immune systems this autumn-winter season, then check out suns.co.uk and use the code F1Nation30 to get £30 off your first order.
If we look at this year's championship, I'm not going to ask you to choose a favourite driver, but if there's someone, if it's Lewis or Max, who do you think's got the cutting edge, if you like, or the advantage in the driver stakes for this year's championship?
Well, it's hard to really determine that in the driver stakes. I mean, that's always that's the most difficult part. I think Max, I think that they're both, really capable, both into it. I don't know if there's much really between those two, quite honestly. But you'd like to see Max because he has not become one yet. So purely from a fan standpoint, you always like to see somebody new to achieve that. But at the same time, what if he just, wins an 8th world championship? Who's ever going to challenge that? Like, I never ever thought that anyone could challenge Michael Schumacher's record, So it's interesting times. And no matter what, you could say, okay, Mercedes, it's got that unfair advantage. But you know what? You still have to drive it. And Lewis has done his job. No question. You can ever take anything away from that. So again, you can speak with two different hats.
It's the classic setup, though, isn't it? It's the guy it's the young pretender and the old king who's dominated for so long, and then this guy comes along and is going to challenge him. So you know what that's like. I mean, there must have been no end of people who tried to take your crown from you.
Well, exactly. But I remember also that coming in on the scene, you came on as a youngster or as a new boy, and there's somebody there that actually sets a standard. When I came to Formula One, the first try that I had, who was the guy I was looking at? Was Jackie Stewart at the time, because he was the guy. And in IndyCar, who was it? It was AJ Foyt. And then if you try to challenge somebody like that, people say, oh, there's no way. And then that obviously gives you that much more energy, to prove everybody wrong. That's how it works. And when Max came on the scene, he showed something very special immediately. I think, with that in the wet in Brazil, for instance, I remember, that was a shining moment, in his young career and all that. But he supported that throughout. I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with no matter where you go. And that's the quality of a champion, any way you look at it.
We've got 6 to go. And as the pressure ramps up with each passing race, just how important is experience? The later it goes in the year, is that going to favour Lewis Hamilton more because he's been there before, he knows how to do it?
Well, Lewis, I think, is very relaxed about things as well. But then I also say that Max is in control of his own emotions for sure. And they both, I think, feel very, very confident about their team, the team effort behind them. Lewis has proven everything so far, so he's the one that obviously I think has the slight advantage in that area for sure. But don't count the other contender out by any means. And that's the interesting part, because if someone would ask me, what do you think? I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you. And that's the beauty of it all. As fans, look at what we have to look forward to. We got 6 races here. They're going to be a real nail biter.
Is there a limit, Mario, when it comes to clashes? There's moments, obviously famous moments in our sport where 2 drivers collide.
No kidding.
Crucial moment. So what's your take on that? Is this all fair and love in war?
When you're fighting for something, and this is it's a pet peeve of mine, quite honestly. I don't want to see the steward decide a championship with all these penalties. And I think when 2 individuals of this stature are fighting for something and something happens, you got to let it go. because it would be absurd to put fault on somebody when both of each other, both of them are out of the race. So, okay, it was his fault versus, you know what? You're trying hard. It could be a violent sport in so many ways, but that's why you have a world, a planet of fans watching it. And don't spoil that. This is not school driving. This is the top level. Stewart, cool off. Let these guys fight, please.
All right. Well, we got a new driver steward now for the rest of the season, and it's called Mario Andretti, and he's gonna be in the steward's room, and he's not gonna have any drivers come and see him at all.
Mario Andretti will know what to do there.
There's no crybabies, right? We're just gonna get on with it.
Next year's calendar, 23 races in Formula One. When you were at your busiest as a racing driver, driving everything under the sun, how many races did you drive? What was your busiest season?
Oh, I've had 51 races. And actually, I can show you just in my book, many of but I used to do at least 34, 35, 39. Because it was a bit crazy, but that's what I wanted. I wasn't forced to do that, quite honestly, but I had great support. My wife just let me do it.
Your wife let you do it. I love that.
Otherwise, she knew that I would be very miserable trying to go to a picnic or something.
Mario, you even did the Indy 500 in your World Championship winning year, didn't you?
Yes.
Incredible. The whole month of May. I suppose you did a bit of testing at Indy, then would run off to do a Grand Prix and then come back. I suppose, yeah. God, Monaco and then Indy 500, amazing.
Actually, when it was Belgium, one month of May, including qualifying, there were 5 weekends, and I had all 5 weekends. There were 3 Formula One races, and then qualifying, and then the Indy.
Amazing.
Well, it's now time for Ask Damon. Let's get that first question in. What do we got?
Hello, Damon. My name is Andrew Lang. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska. I'm a product of the Netflix series and been following F1 for about 3 years now. Absolutely love the sport. Trying to figure out the history. My question to you was, when you were a driver, did you ever have what was considered the best car on the grid? And if you did, what was your mindset? How was it different? How was your approach different? How was the pressure different versus when you didn't have that car?
Hi, Andrew, and Alaska. Wow, Alaska. I've not been to Alaska. I think I must go to Alaska the moment I can.
I have. It's cold. Beautiful,
but wild. Any racetracks out there, Mario? In Alaska?
Not on ice, just on ice.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, a bit of rallying. Okay, so you can help with this one. I'm going to say that I did have the best car, no question about it. In 96, when I won the championship, I had the best Adrian Newey car. We dominated, started every race in the front row, and which I think is still a record, and FW18. And my mindset was different because I thought, oh, fantastic, I've got the best car. That's the only thing you can say. It's much better to have the best car than a car that's not so good. You can win some races with cars that are not so good, and that's very satisfying. But, you have to be honest. It's much nicer. You still get your teammate to beat anyway, but Mario can tell us about having the best car in Formula One, certainly. I would say that the Lotus 79 was one of the best cars, wasn't it, Mario?
Well, that was one of them, yeah, for sure. Obviously, actually, the Lotus 78 also. I think it might have been even a better, easier championship for me then. But the engine reliability was just atrocious that particular year for some reason. But we've been on, as you say, on a grid. Thinking, what you have under you. And there's no better feeling than, obviously, especially if you're on pole, what you have under you. It's all about confidence, isn't it? There are a few times, and not too often, that you say, today they have to beat me. And there's no better feeling. Even you wouldn't dare say it. But when you say it to yourself, it reinforces, the feeling that you have going in. So, yeah, those are the moments that you're striving for. They're very rare, believe it or not, no matter how fortunate you are, they're very rare, but I've experienced that already.
Damon, it's 25 years. Almost to the day, isn't it, since you won the title?
Last week, so when this podcast comes out, it will be 25 years ago last week, probably. So that I won the championship. And I took I know what you're hinting at, because I actually took my guys out who worked on my car, because when I won the championship, I kind of left the team and I didn't get a chance to say thank you. So 25 years later, I took out my team of mechanics.
Never too late.
And they seemed to like it. So I was really glad. And it was really fun to go back and meet them all again and get them together and have a nice meal and a picture with the car. So that was nice.
So a pie and a pint near Grove in England.
Well, it was more of a gastro pub, Tom. It wasn't a cheap meal. It was very nice. And but yeah, it was when you've got that car, we didn't get Adrian along. I'll do another time. But of course, with Mary, you had a close relationship with Colin as well. And there's that kind of thing is special, isn't it? When you have, do you get together with your old mechanics, Mario, at all? Guys who work closely with you.
Always. I mean, I think throughout, always had a great relationship with mechanics, and it was natural, to do that. I mean, you rely on them so much, and you know how hard they work, and you know that if they know that you're out there just giving your best, they're going to do the same thing, and you need all of that. It's amazing. We were speaking earlier. When I can go up and down the pits, the paddock, Le Mans or somewhere in Formula One. I've worked with someone who's still around almost everywhere I go. It's like a big family that I find no matter where I am. And it's a great feeling, quite honestly. But I have, like I said, those dudes, I have so much affection for them because that's how it works. I'll give you a quick, for instance. We were in Belgium, and the 79, the model came out, was just tested in Understorp by Ronnie Peterson. And I arrived there. It was just a test car that arrived. And I sort of looked at it. I said, that looks good. And I told Colin, Colin, I would like to race that. No, it's impossible, Mark. He said, impossible, just a test car. And I asked Bob Dance, I said, Bob, you think you and the guys can prepare that for me to race? If that's what you want, Mario, we will do that. And I won the race with that.
Amazing.
Great story.
Yeah.
Great story.
That's a lovely story.
Wow. Brilliant. Well, that's question number 1, lads. How about question number 2?
Hello, Damon. It's David from Prague. I would love to know, what is your favorite racing film? Mine is John Frankenheimer's 1966 masterpiece, Grand Prix. The races in it look so fast and dangerous. I guess you are familiar with the movie since your father has a role in it. Thank you for your answer. I'm looking forward to next episodes.
Okay, David, I'm afraid you've nicked my movie. So that was going to be the one I was going to choose, which was, you're right, the Frankenheimer film Grand Prix, which is an absolute classic from the point of view of the film quality and the historical record of the racing. Some fantastic scenes. Bit of an interesting storyline, but that's not why we watch it. It's quite good. But my dad also had a speaking role, which was rather embarrassing. He even had a name. He had a fake name, I think. If you look at the credits, it's not... Graham Hill plays... I can't remember his name now. It's someone like Fred Smith or something. I can't remember. But he was a racing driver with a funny name. I'm just going to ask Mario if you've ever played a cameo role in a racing film at all.
Not really. But I'm in agreement about Grand Prix. I think we're all in agreement of that. With all the other more modern films about motor racing that came after that, I think nothing really, to me, compares. There's some reality to it. I think Phil Hill also, at the end of his career, he would start certain races with a camera on his car just to do the filming on that. So that was the reality of it all. So in so many ways, I agree with, yes.
There's been some good documentaries as well. I mean, the dramatic one is Ford versus Ferrari. Have you seen that one? That was quite good.
Yes, I have, but there are a lot of things that are not a reality, quite honestly. I could I could take that one.
Yeah, you could do a better job of that, you think?
A little bit, a little bit too much smoke, yeah.
Mario, you were saying Phil Hill drove the camera car in Grand Prix. His son Derek did a lot of the camera work and stunt driving in Ford versus Ferrari. So keeping it in the family.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I didn't know that, actually.
Can I just say, we're definitely not Driven. Do you remember the IndyCar film with Sly Stallone, Driven? Are you grimacing, Mario? I thought you made a cameo in that one, actually.
I hope not.
Yeah, that definitely gets some raspberries. That one. But anyway, I think we're going to have to say thank you, Mario, for your time, and also I won't see you in the States, but Tom will be out there. So if you get to see him and you can say hello, then
Mario, are you coming to Austin?
Not 100%, but I might be there.
Hopefully, see you there. Be great to have you at the track.
Great to see you again, both of you. Thanks for having me, by the way.
Thank you for your time. Great to speak to you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Oh, what a legend. I love talking to that man, Damon.
Well, you are talking to an absolute living legend. I mean, he is, his history is extraordinary and his record is equally extraordinary. And there he is, happy to chat away and answer the questions from Alaska and Prague and our questions. He's such a lovely man. So, and he lives and breathes motorsport.
Yeah, and I think we need him in the stewards room.
We do, yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, but there basically wouldn't be much work to do, would there? Basically,
no, let it go. Yeah. Oh, Mario, thank you very much for your time. Well, Damon, how's it going to pan out this weekend? What do you think?
It's critical. Everything is now on a very fine balancing tipping point. One false move, and you could lose the World Championship. I mean, you cannot afford to drop 25 points anywhere. And there's the chance that it could happen. It's so easy. And we've had a lot of wet races, haven't we? There's been a lot of uncertainty. I don't know what the weather forecast is for Austin this coming week, but
probably rain.
It has. Well, we're raining down in Texas as we've seen before. It's been not always the sunniest place. So
might be slippery as well, Damon. They've resurfaced 40% of the track. So depending on how that's all settled in, whether we're going to end up with a greasy track surface and slippery track surface.
Yeah, I know. And it depends so much on what suits, whether Red Bull can find a little bit more. I just think Lewis, after Turkey, they showed they had a bit in hand, a bit to help them along the way. But, things happen. And we're not sure what will take place.
Well, Lewis has won there 5 times before, so he has to start as favourite, I feel.
In this season, anyway, it doesn't always work out the assumption that this is a track that favours Mercedes and Lewis. But he's got an incredible record there, hasn't he? I think it's almost like he likes to win in the States.
He certainly does. Go on, DH. I want a name, though. Who do you think is going to win?
I think it's Lewis is going to win. I can't see how it's going to do, but that would also just bring him back perhaps into touch and there'll be nothing between them in points. I mean, so, in fact, Max could come out of this 1 point in the lead, if Lewis wins in the States. So how finely balanced is that? I'm going to Mexico. I'm hoping that they're going to be almost level pegging, and then nothing happens in Brazil, and then I see them back in Qatar. So I'm going to be watching every step of the way, whatever happens.
That's going to be brilliant. Okay, I think it's time to wrap up the show, Damon. Call to arms, first of all.
Thanks very much, guys, for your questions from all over the world. It's great to hear from you. And if anybody else out there listening wants to ask me some deeply probing and difficult question to answer, then all we have to do is make an audio message and send it to askdamonhill@gmail.com.
All right, Damon, time to go.
So that was it then. That was this week's edition of F1 Nation in association with F1 and Audio Boom Studios.
Nailed it.